The theme I chose for this morning is the, I would say, the discovery of triuranium oxide mineral, or chemically U3O8, in the carbonaceous clay that is exposed and associated with the cliff exposure at Papanasam Beach, West Warkalli town. Well, we were in Triuranium campus. I've been putting my finger into too many things probably. Well, one thing we did, I and Chaco, was doing a survey of the potential of groundwater resource for meeting the water needs of the campus community. That was the instance of, our offering to Professor Menon that we will do the study on behalf of the Department of Geology as required by the University Vice Chancellor then, Dr. A. Ayyappan. Second thing I got involved was, on my own it is, going deeper into what is called glauconite. That ended up, gathering or aggregating a gram of glauconite pellet, what I call glauconite pellets, for onward transmission, if you want to say that way, or sending it over to Sri Venkateswara University, Tirupati, for a chemical analysis to verify whether or not that green pellet will qualify to be called glauconite. Yet another thing I got involved in was the, what is called this carbonaceous clay and its fluorescence. Well, for example, the library, like I told earlier on several occasions, was a fairly good one. And a good one as far as the new Department of Geology is concerned. During one of my reading breaks, I had ran into a paper that appeared in the Geological Society of India journal in 1988, when we were in Triuranium. When geology department was in the Senate House campus. There was a mention in the paper, it is authored by two geologists of India only, and I do not remember the affiliation of the people, but what I distinctly remember is that the carbonaceous clay in the Neyveli lignite field showing fluorescence property. And then they investigated the chemical composition of the clay outside of, basically the clay, other mineral that will be available in traces or in very minor quantities. They came up with the discovery of what is called U3O8, and the cause of fluorescence was attributed to the presence of U3O8. For example, minerals of uranium are very scarce in the nature, and pitchblende, for example, one of those, I think, oxides, is very hard to crack or undergo weathering in a what is called chemical weathering environment on the surface of the earth. Whereas all the rocks, practically all the Precambrian rocks, and of course naturally the sedimentary rocks which formed later on, the Precambrian metamorphic rocks had trace content of, in part per million level, uranium. That is another, but unfortunately the uranium is in a trace metal status, And another interesting thing is uranium is also available in the seawater and also in very minute quantities, nanoscale quantities, and which is expressed as part per billion. So is gold. You know something, before the World War II, the country called Japan or the scientific community in Japan, they were trying to extract uranium from, in other words, always when I say uranium, U3O8 only, because that is the thing, that is the form in which you can be transporting the uranium, chemical compound from A place A to place B, which is very harmless. Anyway, then they were trying to developed a process to extract uranium from seawater, whose presence is in part per billion, and intention was to make weapons. At the same time, what Germans were doing was they were focused on the extraction of gold, which is also available in the seawater in part per billion. Well, the only trouble with these approaches and processes, they work very well in a laboratory scale, but if you're planning to make, say, 100 tons or 200 tons of gold or 50 tons of gold or 10 tons of uranium, then I know the seawater you have to put through the plant will measure into millions of tons of seawater. So that was a big handicap, because you have to extract or concentrate what is called the minerals of chemical compounds. So, all are in ionic state. So in order to extract gold or uranium, you need a throughput of huge volumes of water. So that is not a rewarding procedure when you have better chances of locating deposits of uranium and gold on the terrestrial earth. Anyway, so, when the geology department went over to Karyavattam, I had a chance to take a relook at the resources in the laboratory of the geology department, because, we had to transport them, then get them out of the boxes very carefully and replace them wherever it should be going to. Then I came across a lamp which is called a UV lamp. I did not know what the purpose of the lamp was, but somehow it happened to be there. UV lamp is also called a black lamp or a black light lamp for that matter. Anyway, so to my mind, it occurred that we have a UV lamp, and also we have samples of carbonaceous clay of the warkalli series. Why not check these samples for fluorescence, which is an indicator of presence of U3O8? Well, those days library was receiving very many volumes without paying money actually. In other words, one example is from the International Atomic Energy Agency, we got a two-volume set on the proceedings of some international conference that took place somewhere in Vienna. Anyway, so my usual habit is whenever I see something new, I flip through it. I flipped through the pages and we went to the content page, and I saw a section devoted to the discovery and the report of and also the processes involved in shifting the terrestrial uranium to ancient sedimentary basins and their deposition along with the fine-grained clays. One of the conditions they told in the papers, most of the authors, was it should be sort of an oxygen-deficient environment, not one where it is well oxygenated in a sedimentary basin. So that is why the fluorescence is associated with what is called the carbonaceous clays. So I got another clue. So, I just went to Mr. Gopi, our technical assistant, and asked Gopi, I want that UV lamp out. Then Gopi immediately asked, you want it now? Is it for a class? I said, no, I want to check, something, a mineral. Well, I will get it for you in the afternoon, because Gopi always will postpone his offer of help unless it is for a class work. If it is for a class work, then Gopi will rush back along with whoever it is, the teacher, and get the thing out for use in the class. And that is a remarkable quality of Gopi. Gopi is a very popular person in the campus among the what I would call unionists, employees unions, members of the employees union. So in the afternoon, after lunch, I went and reminded Gopi, and Gopi said that I will be back with you. Okay. Then, earlier I said in the new building of the space of the geology department, we had two dark rooms. One dark room was, of course, appropriated by the sweepers in the building, and rather they converted it as their office after work. Then the adjacent dark room was really dark. No, only one door and two kind of walls. In other words, as soon as you open the door, the light would not go in. That is the way it is constructed or designed and constructed. And then there is a ceiling light and one or two sockets of power. So I took the samples from the museum, in a small tray, sample tray. And then Gopi came along with me and took this UV lamp, and then he was very curiously watching what I was doing. What I did was I just kept the tray under the UV lamp and switched on the UV lamp. Very interestingly, of course, the ceiling light also was switched off, because that is the way you have to work with. In other words, in a dark room, only you will get the fluorescence, because it's very gentle, feeble, and it is in the ambient light. If it is high, you will not perceive the change of color. In other words, what is fluorescence? It is a glow of coming off a specimen of a certain chemical nature or certain chemical minerals. So you have to see this firstly in a dark room. Secondly, you need a UV lamp. Within 2 or 3 minutes, these pieces of carbonaceous clay in the tray started to glow, or they emitted what I call as orangish yellow fluorescence. Wow, it is interesting, because the one thing, our carbonaceous clay in the warkalli series is uranium bearing. Uranium has a very envious position those days in the late 60s and early 70s, because this is one of the alternate sources for our energy, electrical energy, and the nuclear thermal electricity production was, in style, in operation in different parts of the world. In the developed countries were, in that sense, not just developed. Unlike our, Persian Gulf countries, they are very well developed, but they are zero in science. They are import all the science. Okay, so not in that sense. Otherwise, who have been very good at science and innovation. So, what happened was, Gopi was also stunned. Then, of course, I said, Gopi, I will get Krishnan Nair sir, because Krishnan Nair sir is actually, very easy to get. I told Krishnan Nair sir, would you like to see something? I mentioned about the fluorescence, etc., etc. Then immediately he said, yes, I am coming with you. So he came in and said, sir, this is the condition. Now I switch off the, what is called the ceiling light. I am switching on the fluorescent lamp, UV lamp. Then what happened was, Krishnan Nair said, well, it is interesting. Very good. Why don't you tell Mr. Menon to have a look at it? I said, yes, I will. Certainly I am doing. Then I went and told Professor Menon, sir, there is a some novel, something in the dark room, we would come and take a look at it. And of course, when I walked along with the Professor Menon, I said, these are the things. So Menon sir came and said, it is good. Yeah, you investigate further, you read up. And fine. That's what Professor Menon always says. And then what I did was, the session was over. Then on a second session, I repeated the same thing. I showed this thing to Krishnanath, Narayanan, and also Mr. Chako Jan. Well, what else I do? Then I had to figure out how to get the chemical analysis of this of the sample in order to assess the level of concentration of U3O8. For some reason, I ran across the name of B.L.K. Somayajulu, a man, a geologist turned geochemist who was then working with the Physical Research Laboratory, Ahmedabad. Well, there is a reason also. My own college mate and contemporary, Mr. Krishna Swami, after doing his MSc in chemistry, joined as a research scholar in the PRL, Ahmedabad. And I read about a paper that Krishna Swami and Somayajulu wrote about something. And then I had a hunch that this will be a place, a big laboratory where I could get chemical analysis done. So I wrote a letter to Krishna Swami making a request that he may help me in getting this analysis done. Then, of course, Somayajulu answered my letter. Somayajulu said, hey, Thrivikramji, a postcard it was, send the sample and also a DD for 900 rupees payable to the institute through the accounts division of the institute. Then I will do the analysis for you. You know what happened? Then I took the letter to Professor Menon. Menon sir agreed to get a 500 rupee advance from the university research-related funds. And, sample was properly packed by Padmanabha Swami in the most, meticulous way, I should say. Then the address were written up on it, and then by that time we got a sanction for the 900 rupees from the university. And, the money was raised, and then a DD for 900 rupees drawn properly to the benefit of the institute was also done. And then what happened? Was both things were, of course, separately sent over to this institute in Ahmedabad. And, of course, I made a request, that kindly acknowledge the receipt of the samples. So I get a postcard saying that, Thrivikramji, your samples are with us, and you will expect a result within 3 weeks. And by the end of the 3 weeks, or the beginning of the 4th week, I get a letter. Professor Menon gets a letter stating that there is 0.00972% of U3O8 in the carbonaceous clay of the what is called warkalli, carbonaceous clays. Well, it was a hilarious moment, it was a joyous moment for me, etc., etc. But you know what the trouble was? I did not know what to do next. How to write up a publishable report, a paper of some sort. And, that data stayed very comfortably in the file of the geology department for several years. That's all. I will come up with another interesting story about the early days in the geology department in the next episode.